So now we're going to start our next panel. And to start off, we're going to do just like we did at the beginning. We're going to start with a slip knot, and we're going to cast on 4 stitches. I'm using my little magic ball of yarn where I've taken scraps of yarn and attached them one after the other, so it makes one big crazy ball. So different colors will come out as my scraps unwind. So we're going to start off in this very first row. We're going to knit every stitch just like we did on the first panel. But on this panel and future panels, a few things will change. But for right now, this first row is knit every stitch, and we're on the wrong side of our work. So now we're going to turn our work here and start our increases. This is going to be our right side row. We're going to change colors here pretty soon. So to start with, we're in the increase phase, and we're going to increase on both ends of the needle in the second to the last stitch and the second stitch of the row. We're going to do increases on both ends, just like we did on the first panel. We're going to do the exact same thing in the increase phase. So to start off with, we're going to, I have a little thread that frayed, so I fixed that. So we're going to start off with a purl, a slip stitch as if to purl. Then we're going to work an increase just like we always have been. We work an increase, knit into the front and the back. And then in the second to the last stitch, which is the next stitch, we're going to work another increase right there. And then we knit the last stitch. So we just did a increase at the beginning of the row, the end of the row, and we're maintaining a slipped stitch edge for right now on both sides. So now we're on the back side. We're going to slip the first stitch, knit the rest, knit to the end. It's a little hard to see because I'm using some darker colored yarn here, but I make these crazy balls of yarn where I take big sections of my stash yarn and I tie them together and then roll them into a big ball, so I don't have to constantly be changing yarns. They just change automatically, so it saves a lot of time, and I'll show you how I do that later on in the video. So that's my back side where I just knitted all the stitches. So now I'm on an increase row. I'm on the front of my knitting. We'll put a marker there in a little bit. So I'm on the front. I'm going to do an increase again at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row. Slip the first stitch, work an increase, knit to the second to the last stitch, do an increase, knit the last stitch. Now the back side. Purl the first, or slip the first stitch purlwise. Now knit to the end. We're going to get the new color starting here in a minute. Those little tails, I try to keep them towards the back side of my work. So we'll work on that on the next row. But we knit all the stitches. That's the back side. Back to the front. We're going to do some increases. And when I get to those little tails, I'm going to pull them to the back of my work and see if I can get them to stay in the back, because it just is easier to knit when they're in the back. It really doesn't matter if they stay to the front or back. They're going to look just fine. But I'm going to try and work them to the back here. So we're going to slip our first stitch. Now an increase. And then once I knit this stitch, I have those little ends now right in my way. So I'm going to pull them back to the back. Just kind of tug on them, get them to move to the back, and then I use my left hand to kind of hold them down out of the way. Uh-oh. Let's get these stitches back on. Oops. It happens. Oops. Don't panic. Just thread them back on there. And now my next stitch is going to be a knit stitch, so I'm going to hold those little tails back to the back and see if I can get them to stay back there. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. They're kind of in the back. I tuck them around behind and knit my next stitch. And they're kind of locked in back there. So now we knit to the second to the last stitch because we're on the front. We do an increase. And then we knit the last stitch. All right, so we are going to maintain the pattern we've been working all along. We're going to increase on the front side on both sides of the needle, both the top of the needle and at the end of the needle. And on this side, we're always going to slipped purl, knit to the end. We're going to continue this pattern until we have 40 stitches on our needle. So I'm going to continue working this, and I will meet you back when I have 40 stitches on my needle. Okay, we're back. And we have 40 stitches on our needle. We've kept our slipped stitch edge going on both of these edges. And now we're to the corner stitch, and we're going to start attaching to the panel we've completed already.